to another exclusive interview for the She is Empowered interview series right here on Miss Hennessy TV. I am beaming to beautiful Melbourne in the background and my amazing friend Sarah Olarte, who has we finally agreed to have this chat. We've tried a couple of times and just scheduling and life has gotten in the way. But thanks so much, my love, for joining me tonight. How are you?
I'm good, Max. Thank you. I'm good. Coming from Melbourne in lockdown number 4.
Yes. But you make lockdown look great, though. You make lockdown look good.
Thank you. Thank you. I love Melbourne, and I love having her behind me. But yeah, it's not lost in me that we're having this chat on night 1 of lockdown.
Yeah, it's I know we've tried. You're a really, really busy woman, not just socially, but just with work and friends and life in general, and trying to reconnect can sometimes have its challenges, but I'm very grateful to be able to speak with you tonight. Not happy that you're in 4th lockdown, but as we spoke before cameras started rolling, it's you're no stranger to this lockdown life.
No, it's number 4. It's like announcing my 4th child's been born. But I've not had a night of lockdown, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, spending it with you. So what a way to start. Thank you.
Thank you. That's awesome. Well, look, obviously we're here to speak about your experience and your chapter in my beautiful book, She is Empowered, which I'm so grateful that you got to contribute your story, because as most people would know, and those who have read it, you are an extremely resilient woman, and you literally, and I've always looked at you like this, you've raised yourself, right? You're an enigma. You're a woman who runs with the wolves, and you are just unabashedly honest and authentic in yourself. And it's just an honor to know you. So to have you in this book, you are the embodiment of empowerment to me. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being involved in it and for not even thinking twice and saying yes to my request. How has it been for you reading your story, seeing the book, being involved? What's it been like?
It's I knew you were going to get tears from me. I didn't think it would happen this quick in the conversation, but and I'm not sure I'm deserving of all those beautiful things that you've said, but thank you, because coming from you and the woman that you are and the friend that you are means so much to me. So thank you for those beautiful words. What has it meant for me being part of this book, being even for you to consider me to be a part of it? It's given me the connection and the reset that I needed as a strong woman with other strong women, because, you know, when you're independent and when you're doing a lot of stuff solo and when, you know, you are raising yourself, it's sometimes really easy to forget that you are a part of this circle, a part of this world where there are other women who are a part of it too.
Yeah.
So I have read every story and you know, you could say it's words on a page, but every word in every page has kicked out to me. So when I've read Tiana's chapter, when I've read Zadie's chapter, when I've read, you know, Eden's chapter, Tracy's chapter, whoever it is, I've actually felt like that empowered, strong woman is sitting with me, next to me when I'm reading it.
Yeah.
And that's like, I feel like I've had, you know, all these women with me sharing their stories, and I've learned I've needed that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know what you say is so true. I think we fall prey to that. Oh, but you're so strong. You're great. You're okay. Gosh, you've gone through so much. I mean, we even say it to each other, right? But we know where we're coming from and we know the intent of when we say that. Yeah, we're strong. But even strong people need a hug and strong people cry and we have moments where we sink and just because people don't see us there, we're human and it happens. And who picks us up, right? So to hear you say that again gives it further reinforcement why this book was needed. And with women that are in this environment, okay, it's not celebrities, it's not fashion designers, it's nothing of that. It's everyday superheroes that I have in my life and these incredible sheroes that I have in my life. For that exact reason. It's a sisterhood. And if you didn't know them, you know them now. And if you did know them, you know them better, right? So,
Yes.
you're right.
Oh, there's lots of women that feature in this book that I've met or I've known in previous lives, or we've spent time together. And this has been an uninterrupted viewing into who they are.
Yeah.
This has been not the girlfriend on a great girls' night out in Sydney having lots of drinks and dancing. This is the real person. This is what makes the person tick. This is who the person is. And seeing the evolvement of these women and reading about them, it is, and I keep going back to that. I felt like they've been in my home,
Yeah.
next to my couch,
Yeah.
sitting next to me on the couch, and it's just incredible, Max. It's I don't know how you're going to feel about this, but this is like my Bible. This is, I've got like turned ears,
I
I've
love
got
it.
highlighted bits,
I love it.
and I pick it up.
Yeah.
I pick it up and I reread.
Yeah. I love
And if I'm
that.
having a hard, like, thank you so much, and thank you to the incredible women who have given their stories to you and to the world. But I can't tell you how many times I've picked this book up and I've reread Tracy's story, Eden's story. Like,
Yeah.
everything makes sense to me now. If I think about Eden and how I see her as a mother with her son,
Yeah.
it all makes sense.
It does, isn't it? It's such a gift, and again, I hear myself repeating this in all of the interviews to date that I've done so far, is that writing is such a vulnerable um, craft, right? You're sharing a piece of your soul, and it is more than words on just paper, right? It's your soul on that paper, right? So whether you're a fiction writer, whether you're non-fiction, biographical, autobiographical, whatever your style of writing is, it's a piece of your soul on that paper. So for me to have even the audacity for me to have thought, oh, the world needs this book, and I'm going to be the one to write it. I don't know where that came from, but I'm glad it came to me, and I'm really grateful that with every email that I sent asking, if you wanted to be involved, the responses were unanimous, and that said a lot. So clearly, it was something that everybody felt that they wanted to share a piece of their soul with. So that's something that isn't lost on me. But you've always been a woman who's you just the art of friendship is really crafted with you. I mean, we've been friends for a long time, and how we became friends was really quite ironic. But that's another channel again. So we aren't going to talk about that. We know how we became friends. But again, we became friends through the most unusual circumstances, forged out of a common thread of I see her and she sees me, and I see good in her and she sees good in me. And that's kind of how it always was. And even when we weren't seeing each other on maybe on the same page, or we may have had moments of separation, it's like this invisible string kept pulling us together, and
Mm-hmm.
that she's still there and I'm still here. And isn't it crazy, right?
It's so crazy. And I'm going to take you down memory lane, Max. But I remember we'd seen each other out at different places through mutual acquaintances. But we had this one Sunday evening, I remember it very clearly, where we were hanging out at some girlfriends' houses. It was a long night, and you ended up driving me home to my apartment in the city. And I just knew that when you were dropping me off at, I think it was 6:30 a.m. on a Monday morning, I was like, this is a friend for life.
Yeah.
This is a friend for life. And we went into that Sunday evening being aware of each other, not knowing each other. And boy, did lots unfold that evening to get us to know each other. But I just remember knowing from that moment in 2004, 2004, 2005, that we will be together forever in all sorts of different ways. And it was really interesting. I was chatting to a friend of mine about us having this conversation. And I don't know how it come up, but one of the questions was, have you and Max ever been on a holiday? And I said, well, I spent a week in 2010 with Max, her beautiful husband, Jay, their beautiful baby son, Balian, in their home in Catania, Sicily, Italy, on a US naval base. So, yeah, we've been on holiday together.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
That, to me, it's like, you know, it wasn't a week to the Gold Coast. It wasn't a, you know, girls' trip to the Barossa. But that's us. That's
really. Those memories. I mean, the way you painted it, I'm laughing. It's not because it's funny, but because it is just so. It's so on another level, right? And everything with us, it was always on another level. Even if it was just a simple night in, it wasn't just that with a packet of jacks. No, it was a meat tray with the finest wine, watching Poetic Justice. So there were there was checks and balances, right? But there was always great conversation, lots of laughter, great memories, constant. How did we get involved in that? How did we get out of that unscathed? How did this happen? Where did that? It's just how it's been, and I think it's just one of those magical sort of friendships that most don't understand, but we get, and I think that's the beauty of it, right?
Yes, and it's, you know, and I would, you know, I tell you this and I tell everyone this, it's a friendship that I treasure beyond measure.
Yeah.
And it's a friendship that I will never let go of. And, you know, it's one for the ages, right?
Really, it really, really is. And I think, you know, there's not, again, and this comes down to that whole empowerment conversation of females empowering other females. Like, I've never found you to be, what's the word? You've always encouraged, you've always been the supporter, you've always been that friend that's been, yes, you can do that, and even greater. Like, why are you limiting yourself? I expect more from you because you can do more. And in a world where the cry call is, you know, women empower women, and we shouldn't tear each other down, and we should look, women can be quite strange creatures, you know, at the best of times. We've all got little jealous streaks and insecurities and all this sort of stuff. But when it comes to that loyal and fierce support, it's never crossed my mind to go, wow, she's not a supportive person. You've always been a supportive friend, even if you're in a person's life or not. So what do you attribute that to, Sarah? Because like I said in the beginning, singing your praises, for as long as I've known you, you've really been in this world as a solo entity. You know, I mean, your beautiful mum, God love her, she's passed on a long time ago, and we always pay tribute to her every year on her birthday. You know, your dad, you know, you didn't really. I mean, you knew Dad, but again, Dad also left your life at a very young age. So when I say you raised yourself, you really have. I mean, you've got family, but you've always been this enigma of, you know, such quiet strength, and you really fight for others. Okay, so where do you think that comes from? Where do you think that strength comes from?
I think that for me, I'm constantly reflecting on my misfortunes and things that, or the missing of people that others have. And so I look at my hurt, or I look at my experiences, and I think, well, I know what it's like to feel hurt. I know what it's like to feel unsupported through reasons that is out of your control. So I've always had it in the front of my mind that I want the people around me, whether it's my closest friends and loved ones to the stranger on the street, I don't want them to feel the heartache that I felt. I don't want them ever. And, you know, I'm the ultimate empath in that I feel other people's hurt, and I very easily put myself in the shoes of others. But I've experienced acute sadness, acute awareness of being your own entity. So when faced with the opportunity to support others, to love others, to give love, to give praise, to give encouragement, that has just felt very natural to me. It's felt like that's my calling. I've never, and you know, like I reflect on your earlier days with your DJing and your writing and your radio, and I always had the utmost belief and faith in you and your greatness. And I never, like, I just knew, but I wanted to celebrate that. I wanted to, you know, like I think back, Max, and, you know, the Saturday evenings that you'd pick me up and I'd go to one of your gigs, and I would just sit in the sideline and, you know, sometimes I take a book to a nightclub. Like, who does that?
She'd be there, like the place should be going off, and there's Sarah reading Wuthering Heights by the dim light of the DJ booth.
But I just wanted to be around you, and I wanted you to know that in that space you had someone who supported you, who loved you, who believed in you. And that cascades to all of my loved ones. That cascades, and this is a real problem, to the strangers in the street that I come across, because they don't always want my love. In fact, some tell me in my local area, you know, go on with yourself. But that's me.
That is you. That is you.
And sometimes it gets me
well,
in hot water.
Does, but you know what? It's such a beautiful and rare quality. You know, it's only those with the trained eyes in the ways of the empath that can truly appreciate it. So it's never been lost on me, and I'm very, very lucky to call you a friend, and I've always told you that. So thank you for those years of coming along with the book, and yeah, and just sitting there basking in the glow.
I loved it, and don't get me wrong, I'd put that book down when you started to get those places like really on fire. Like, that was time for me to put the book down. But for me, it was about being there for Max. It wasn't about being in the best club in Sydney or hanging out with the right people to hang out with. Like, I could be really clumsy with that stuff. It was just about me being there by your side, that's why I was there.
Yeah.
And they were some of the best memories and times of my life and our friendship with you and our friendship together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I look at you now. I mean, obviously you're living in a different city, and you still got some of the same friends that I remembered you having, even, you know, through our friendship. Some of the names come up, and it's lovely to see that the friendships still continue, and your love for these women. Do you think that that's something that today's generation really miss, is the art of friendship?
Yes.
Mm.
Absolutely. I think it's the era that we're in now, the world that we're in now. Friends are fast. Friends are fickle. Friends are temporary. But you're right. If I look at my greatest friendships, so you, Kylie, Fadden,
Yes.
Crystal, like I've been friends with those girls, Natalie, for 25 years. And then, you know, CJ, Therese, Mary, we've been friends since 2004. It's, I don't let go of you. Once we connect, I don't let go. And we will still be tight in our 80s and 90s. And I think I always reflect on this. I find it easy to make new friends, but my inner circle, my tight circle, expand much.
Yeah.
And it sounds cliche, but it's that quality over quantity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And, you know, moving to Melbourne, of course, I've had to establish new friendships. I've had to reach into the sisterhood that's here. And, you know, my friend, Nat Madge, you know, we've known each other since 2016. I adore that woman. And whether she likes it or not, like, we're done. That's it. We're together. She's got me for life. Lauren, Mandy, but it's not going to go much bigger than that. And it's, you know, I've got some really wonderful, beautiful friendships with male friends, and they mean the world to me. But that art of friendship and the originals, I invest in that. It's always struck me, and it's a bit of a generalization, but I know you'll know what I mean here, where as women, and particularly younger women, we invest so much in our relationships with the opposite sex.
Yeah.
Make ourselves available, make ourselves we do all of the things. I've always treated my friendships with the women in my life 10 times more than that.
Yeah.
So if I am going to be available to a man who's not available, or if I'm going to put on my best face for a date with a man, I'm going to do 100-fold for the women in my life.
I like that.
And it's an investment.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, the fact that you say it like that, I think that's what's missing. It's like the conversation you and I were having before about the wanting to be with someone versus the need for someone, right? Wanting to have great friendships is a great thing. Working to have great friendships is another, right? You've got to work at the friendships. And when you get them, you've got to constantly feed them. And by doing that, investment, time, energy, you know, support, loyalty, all of those things, all of those ingredients. And I think today's generation, it's fast fashion, fast friendships, fast living, everything social media, it's all for hella likes and Instagram, right? There's no real basis to it. So I call it the art of friendship because it really is. And you either are empowered enough to be that friend and to go, no, I'm not going anywhere. I might give you some space, but I'm right here. Or it's that fickle, you know, oh, well, it's good, we'll see you later, right? So it is. It's we're a dying breed, my love.
And it makes me sad. It makes me sad because if I think of all of the trials in my life, the sad days, the big moments, and, you know, no respect to the strong men in my life who I adore, but it's been my female friendships who have held me both down and up.
Yeah.
And it is those relationships that I've invested in that I've been able to call upon in my moment of need. Like when I've been, you know, on my knees, my soul bared in pain, it's been one of these amazing, empowered, incredible females in my life that is there wiping my tears, making me that coffee, you know, getting me to put a jumper on because it's cold and I don't know that it's cold because I'm just not present.
Yeah.
And it's a labor of love.
Yeah.
It's a labor of love, and it's in an investment, and you spend time on them. And, you know, sometimes friendships, I've always had this conversation with people to say, why is it when you and a female friend have a bit of a fracture or a bit of a moment that a lot of women find it easy to move on? Okay, we're done.
Yeah.
Why don't you fight for it? And I can honestly say, hand on heart, with the women that are closest to me in my life, I have fought for them and they have fought for me.
Yeah.
And it hasn't always been roses. We haven't always liked each other, but we've always loved each other and honoured each other and respected each other.
But that's that grown womanship thing, right? That I always say. It's that clean code, okay? You don't always have to agree. You don't always have to see eye to eye, but you've got to respect each other. Respect the difference of opinion, and respect each other enough to know that it's okay if she doesn't agree with certain things, but we're not going to hate on each other. Disrespect. There's enough that keeps us connected as opposed to what keeps us apart. If there's more that keeps you apart, well, then yeah, you might have to, you know, I mean, it's been real and you've been here for the season and I've learned and thank you. But yeah, too often people throw away. And
Yeah.
I totally hear you. So it is part of that sort of dying breed thing, though. I think with a lot of our generation of women seems to be the last bastion of fly the flag for saving friendships, you know. But
I'm so grateful we didn't come up in the age of social media like the way that it is now.
Serious time.
I'm so grateful that wasn't present when we were forming our bonds, because I see that, you know, for all that's good about social media, it's a real distraction to friendships and longevity in friendships.
Absolutely.
And, you know, my fondest memories with my best girlfriends, you included, has nothing to do with social media, nothing to do with a photo that's been posted or, you know, a cute Instagram. It's been the stuff that we experienced one-on-one or collectively with other amazing women.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really exist anymore. Everything now is for, you know, for the reals.
Absolutely. And if it didn't happen, you know, on Facebook, Instagram, it didn't happen. Well, there's such a huge life out there when you put your camera down sometimes, right? Or you put your phone down. It really, and yeah, we have lived a very different existence, I think. But that's why we're here to tell the stories and to keep that narrative going. And that's why a book such as this, with all of these collective narratives about life from different women's perspectives, it needed to be written. So my last question for you before I pass on over to you, do you think a book like this can change the perception of how people look at women in Australia and look at multiculturalism, especially amongst women and the diversity amongst women here in Australia? Do you think a book like this can help the world look at Australia differently?
Without doubt. And my vision for this book and for you and for the women featured in the book is that this sits in every high school library. It sits on every young woman's desk as a reference, as a reflection, because as you said before, we're all real women. You know, there's no celebrities, there's no social media personality as such. This is realness. This is real people. And if you look at the collective of women that you've brought together, you've covered the whole spectrum. The creatives, the artists, the mothers, the business women, the corporate women, you've not left a stone unturned in bringing together this collection, and there is so much to be learned. And again, like, I just reflect back on the fact that I've highlighted sections, I've dog-eared sections to go back and, you know, if I'm having a bad day, if I'm having a great day, I will go back and I will read the words and the stories and take that into the next part of my day.
I love that.
So, you know, I look at this in so many ways. I look at it as storytelling, and there are beautiful stories, complex stories, stories of simplicity, stories of encouragement, empowerment. But I also look at it as a bit of a tool. I really do. A bit of a tool to go, you're not having a great day today, Sarah. Things haven't gone great in the workplace or something's happened. Pick this up and lean into what these other women have experienced or the learnings that they're giving you, and take that. And I can't think of, and, you know, I'll be really real with you, Max. I don't want to pick up a book like this and see a whole bunch of faces of celebrities.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
they are absolutely real people and they have a story to tell, but it comes with a certain degree of, you know, it's being curated for the masses, where this is, it's just so real. And I think you can't read this book and not be taken aback by the diversity, by the learnings, by the experiences, and just reaching into each of these chapters and saying, well, you know, what did Tiana do when she was faced with this adversity? Or what did Tracy do? Or what did Dee do? Or what did Mira do? Or what did Lisa do? Or what were the challenges that they were faced with? And that's just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for that. That's quite an answer. I have nothing left, so I'm going to throw over to you if you have any questions.
Oh, I have a lot. But I'll keep it to 3.
Yes.
Otherwise we could be here for a long time. I guess the question that I've had, and I've had it ever since I received the book and even beforehand, the connection that you have with the women in this book.
Yeah.
Is it stronger for you now that you've done the book and that it's out there? Does the connection feel stronger?
That's a great question, to be honest. I never really thought of it. I thought, you know, the book just offered me a different viewpoint to someone I thought I knew. Yeah. And there's 29 women in this book, and you can't know everybody, you know, back to front. Like, we're always learning about each other. But I feel I knew everybody enough to know how to obviously formulate the questions and my perception of these women and how I look at them. Since doing the book and you know, obviously through the editing process is when things started to shift for me in my real understanding of each and every one of you. I do feel that there is a strong connection, and I do feel that once the book came out and the collective support of that book, how, you know, everybody, some more than others, really got on the support of pushing it and wanting the world to know not only their story, but their newfound sister or a friend that they didn't know that much about, that they knew more about. They wanted to know their story. That was really special for me, and that made me look at those people so much differently. So yeah, I would say that the connection is a little stronger, if not so much more respectful now that I know more. So yeah, definitely.
It's yeah, it's, you know, I'll be connecting with Rani, who lives in
Yes,
Melbourne.
yes. And
And
she's
that
another really dear friend of mine that I've known 20 odd years. Ronnie and I have been friends. So it's the Melbourne connection of my lifelong friends is extremely close.
it is. It is. Eden, since reading it, I felt this immense connection to her as a, yeah, as
Yeah.
a member of the sisterhood. So I'm glad that you feel that extra connection, but also, just so you know, you've created either reconnections or new connections for those of us in the book, that may not have, you know, been connected before it come out. So,
That's
you
awesome.
know, that's incredible. My other question for you, Max, is now that you have your own publishing house, which still blows my mind every time I think that I have a very dear friend who is at the forefront of their own publishing house. What's your next steps with your career? Is it still going to be that balance of education, DJing, you know, podcasts,
Yeah.
books? Are you going to go a little bit heavier into the literature side of things? Like
Yeah.
what are you thinking?
You know, it's MHP Publishing was obviously born because of She is Empowered and because of the need for myself as a writer and a previously published author before this one to never allow the narrative to be changed by people who don't understand the story, the origins. And for me at the time when I wrote my first book, How to Live for Love and Hip Hop, the culture with which I came up from. And it was such a traumatic experience for me being a first time author at the time and having people who had no respect or no want and desire to understand the culture of hip hop and the people who are a part of it tell me how I should relay it to the world was the biggest insult and something I refused to go through again had I ever put pen to paper. So I took a huge hiatus, and then when I decided to do the next book, I needed it to not only be life changing for me, but something so much more of a higher purpose. The higher purpose was obviously the connection of all of you and your stories, but then to have it, the publishing house be the forefront of it, to allow your voice to be shared in your words, in your tone, and your delivery through this book. That having been received now has made me look at the literary world and my role in it as a lot greater, right? So yeah, I've got about two other books that I'm working on at the moment. The follow-up book to this will probably be, I would say, roughly a year's time from now, where I'll be doing another She Is installment. So I'm collating those stories right now, trying to find the right blend of woman in that book. Um, and then the one that I'm doing immediately now after She's Empowered is basing it on the the black man experience, living in today's society and looking at what's happening through the lens of, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement and expat Americans living in Australia amongst their Indigenous brothers and South African brothers and Indian brothers and Polynesian brothers, we're all watching what's happening with, you know, police brutality in the US, and then, you know, deaths in custody here in Australia, and how it affects just the normal man of color watching these things all the time, and how they feel, giving them a voice. That's my next book, and that's a huge one to tackle, but it's a necessary one. And again, like what I did with you ladies, you know, simply asking the question, isn't animals? Yes, you know, these men were, it's like they were waiting to do something like this, and that really sparked me to think, wow, the writing, the world of words and publishing people's stories is probably where I need to be right now. So that's immediate answer. Yes, I am focusing on the writing aspect. I will always love DJing. I'm actually developing a DJ school at the moment in the area that I live in with a couple of other mumpreneurs. We're looking at filling a bit of a niche market here with DJing. And teaching, I'm going to be starting my teaching degree in August. So
It's incredible. And
why, I don't know why I'm taking on all these things, but I just feel I want to do these things, Sarah, and well, I
well, you're
can.
Maxine. That's why you're taking it on, because
Yeah.
you're Max, and you can and you will and you should. Well, it's interesting because you've actually, in your response there, you've actually answered my third and last question for you.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, are there plans afoot to do something similar, you know, for the strong, incredible men in your life? And you've answered that so beautifully. Thank you for reaching into that space, because it's a space that not many people in Australia or abroad have the tenacity and the courage to, because that space it's big and it's devastating. And the reason I asked you that question is, or why I wanted to ask you the question about, you know, a version of something like this for men is, there's an incredible man in Melbourne, and you may already be familiar with him, Khalid Baker. Khalid is an African brother. He spent 13 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. He went into prison, I think, 18. He served 13 years for murder. And the thing that breaks my heart, and why I connect you and Khalid, and every time I think of him and see him, is because he's not a household name in Australia. Lots of us know of him and know of his story, but his story hasn't been told. And his story is all of the things that you just touched on, the injustices towards men of colour in this country or abroad, police getting it wrong. And I've just always, Khalid is a professional boxer, and thankfully he's out of prison now and he's living his very best life. But every time I think of him and I see him on social media, and I think, you know, this is a man that has a story to tell, that only somebody like you could be the vehicle for that. But I just want to thank you, because then, you know, this is one thing that you've always known about me is, my heart is with men of colour for so many reasons, our Indigenous men, our, you know, as you said, Polynesian, because they are a group within our world who have just been downtrodden, and they've had the raw end of the deal in so many ways, in so many places. And I'm just so delighted to hear and know, and not shocked at all, that that's already on your path. And I just, again, my pride for you and the difference that you make to all of us. And you know, whether it's to the empowered women or the men that have a story to tell. We're just in the very best of hands, Max.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That means a lot, and I know you're such an advocate for everything that we've spoken about, and it's just, you know, it's just wanting to live a life of purpose, Sarah. That's always been my thing. You know, it's been nothing fancier than that. It's not fame or fortune. I mean, those things are all great, you know, when they do eventually come, but that's not the vehicle, you know. And it's you know, I look at my boys, I look at my sons, and I think, you know, the world that I've born them into is not a great place right now, but it is a great world, right? It's just full of some really strange misfit people that are a little lost at the moment, and it's trying to make sense of that for them as best as I can, and leaving the legacy behind, I guess, of books and things for the generations after us. I guess that's it, you know, for me, and just making sure that our voices are heard, and people who are everyday women and men out there just like living extraordinary lives, and no one's there to write the story. I want to be the one that's capturing it all. So what I can do with the time I have, you know, and I have the energy to do it, I'll do the best I can. But I'm in good company, I think. So
You are.
we keep it moving. But
You
thank
do
you, my
keep it
darling.
moving.
Thank you for your time tonight, for your brilliant conversation, and just, you know, your continued contribution to women of empowerment, and just being this force to be reckoned with. You might not think that it's a lot, but yeah, you mean a lot to a lot of people, so me included. So thank you.
Thanks, Max. Thank you. And I certainly feel like I needed that reinforcement, or to hear that today. So thank you.
Anytime, my darling, anytime. I'll say good night to you now on the beautiful, glistening Melbourne skyline behind you. And I hope
Sleepy Melbourne. We've been put to sleep early.
The sleepy Melbourne, and hope that, you know, the next few days it just goes by as quickly and as painlessly as it can, and you can get back to the vibrant city that you are. But Sydney misses you, and maybe one day you'll return.
I think so. That's definitely on the cards.
Might be on the 5th lockdown. Should we forget this shit? I'm out.
Okay, if we go into number 5, I'm getting this ass out of Melbourne and I'm returning to Hosking Place.
That's it. That's it.
I'll pitch a tent if I have to.
I'll
pitch a tent. Well, I need a party because I will be in quarantine for 2 weeks.
Right, the story of our lives. But listen, whatever you do, just stay safe, and I hope to see you.
Thank you.
In the flesh very soon, my darling. Thank you.
My pleasure. Love you.
Love you too.